This is Private Matters. I'm Max van Praag. We're speaking about authentically thriving in intimacy, and I interview people from all over the world on any aspect of an intimate relationship. Today's show is about codependency and addiction in relationship, and I'm speaking to Pascale Piquet, author of the book The Tarzan Syndrome, who is in Montreal in Canada. Hi, Pascale.
Bonjour, Max.
Bonjour, Pascale. Welcome to the show. I'm in Marin County, and Pascale is in Montreal. Pascale is from France, and she lives in Montreal, and she is an intimacy expert. You are an intimacy expert. You wrote this book, The Tarzan Syndrome, which is about codependency and addiction. What does Tarzan have to do with that?
You know, I was tired hearing about codependency of emotional dependency. It's like an axe that falls on your head. It's like a death sentence. And I wanted, start laughing. It's when you start laughing, you start healing. So I wanted people to laugh at themselves and at the problem. So I call it Tarzan Syndrome, because people will stay all your life long, clinging to a vine that hurts them.
Yes, yes, people cling to a vine, and that's why it's Tarzan Syndrome, because they're clinging to a situation, to a person that's no longer healthy.
Yeah, or they will jump from one to another. They will never stay alone. They can't. They really can't tolerate to be alone. So they will jump, from a vine to another one, because they are terrified.
Terrified of what? People are afraid of what?
To fall in the void, If Tarzan has no vine, he will fall down, and people don't want to fall in the void. I would say the emotional void.
The emotional void.
So you can't tolerate being alone.
Yes, you can't. Right. People are afraid to let go of what they have, even if it's not good.
You're right. And, it comes from a lack of recognition, affection, and protection. In your childhood, if you didn't get those three things, you will not develop your self-esteem and confidence.
Very, very well said, Pascale. Let's say that again. It's so important what you just said. Please say it again.
A child thrives on recognition, protection, and affection. If he hasn't, he will not develop self-esteem and confidence.
And he will later on cling to a situation that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Most likely.
You will, your body will grow up, but your psychological part will not. And you will stay a child, even in an adult body. You will stay a child here, I would say here. And this child is the inner child, the one who represents fears. And sometimes your adult side and your child side will struggle, because when the adult side will drive your life, you will be an adult and everything will be okay. But if the child drives, you will have a lot of trouble.
Yes, the needy child, and yes, there will be a lot of trouble and a lot of unhealthy attachment. And I know you. I've read your book, and I think everybody should read your book, because it talks about this particular relationship between one person who is a black hole, an emotional black hole, and another person who is desperate. You call it the desperado, the desperado, right?
You're right, yes. In fact, it's a two-player game. You have, for the same causes, you have two different ways of living this problem. One one of them will be the desperado, the one who gives. He will give everything he can to get, to obtain, we would say, to buy affection. And he will meet the emotional black hole, like black hole in space, who will take. So you have the one who gives, desperado, and the one who takes, emotional black hole. And you know, the couple is like that. One needs the other, even if they will not live the same way this problem.
They will stay together.
They will stay together because they match up. The desperado will recognize the emotional black hole through the inner child.
Yes.
The inner children, I would
right.
say. The
Because it's familiar. It's familiar.
Yeah. You know, you attract what you are. Mm-hmm. If you are unbalanced, you will attract another person who is unbalanced.
Yes.
It's the law of attraction.
Yes. The other person is always a reflection. So whatever my partner does that I don't like, I have to look at myself and see that I am that way too. That my partner is a reflection of me. So if my partner is unavailable, maybe I'm unavailable.
Yeah, but you know, the one who gives is very hungry because he never gets what he wants.
Yes.
And the one who takes thinks that the other one has a problem because he's running, is trying everything to buy affection. But the other one doesn't get involved in the relationship, you know?
Yes.
Because sometimes he has been hurt in several relationships and he decides that he will take and will not give. And the other one gives until he will be tired to give without getting anything in return. So for revenge, he will be an emotional black hole in the next relationship. For revenge, he will think, that's enough. I've been giving all my life long and didn't get anything. Now I will take. It's crazy because you can change, you know, you can be a desperado. If you fall in love with another desperado, you can become an emotional black hole. And if you are an emotional black hole and you fall for a blacker emotional black hole than you will become a desperado. It's as crazy as I tell you, and you know my books and my experience are based on my own life. I was an emotional black hole at the beginning of my life.
Yes.
I turned desperado because I met a guy who was blacker than me.
Blacker than you, yes.
So I became a desperado twice. And then I had to stop relationships because I did need to understand what was happening to me.
What you just said about that people switch roles reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend who is an intimacy coach and who was talking to a few women, and those women said, there are no good men out there. I can't find a good man, there are no good men out there. And then this person who was the intimacy coach said, what do you mean? There is good men out there, you have to know where to find them. And then these women asked, well, where should we look? And the coach said, you should look in the gutter, dans les égouts. You should look in the gutter, because in the gutter you'll find men who has been dumped by a woman who didn't want them and who treated them badly, and they're all beat up and they're suffering in the gutter. And if you look there, you'll find a really good man who will be really good to you.
It's funny because, you know, I would have answered to that lady, what is the common denominator between all the people, the neurotic people you've ever met? The answer is you. We attract people. When I was thinking about my life, I thought those guys are crazy. They are crazy. And suddenly I could understand that I was attracting them. I thought that the way I was very balanced, you know, I thought I was a woman very balanced. And I thought that it was this which was attracting guys because they were unbalanced.
Uh-huh.
Do you know the extreme attract?
Yes.
But that's not true. That's not true. When you have a problem, if you are a desperado or an emotional black hole, you will attract neurotic people, for sure.
You will attract neurotic people for sure, yes.
Yeah. So people don't understand that they will judge men or women because they've met crazy guys or crazy women, but they did attract them.
And
It's not hazard.
And you, Pascale, you help people let go of the vines of Tarzan, right? You are a coach, a life coach, a relationship coach, and people come to you and you help them to cut the vines of Tarzan. Is that right?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
It's very easy because it's based. Yeah, I tell you,
it's easy.
Based on NLP.
Neuro-linguistic programming, yes.
Programming. Yeah, and it's so easy because, you know, I whisper to the subconscious of people. Everything is in your computer. It's the subconscious. So when you've been, when your parents were not fair to you, because of the lack of protection, recognition, and affection, you don't develop self-esteem and confidence. You are a child, and my clients are child. They are crying like babies because they just broke, or they feel alone, or they have trouble in their jobs because, you know, this like will throw you in the grips of professional, private, and social problems. So they have problems in the private life, social life, or and in the professional life.
And with and probably also with their health.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes they are very good in their work, in their jobs. You can have people very, very in high positions in politics or in cinema or in singers. They have a big success, but in their private life, they really can't find the right person for them. It's very hard because they are a child, and they can't find a person who is balanced because they are not.
So Pascale, I want to ask you what would you recommend to anybody who's listening right now and say, oh, that's me?
First, I recommend to understand this problem. It's the first step. When you read the book Tarzan Syndrome, you understand in which situation you are and why you are in this situation. You're not responsible for this lack of confidence and self-esteem. You're not. It's bad programming. But it's not a disease. You can
bad programming. I understand. Yes.
Yeah. So with my client, I will help them to develop confidence and self-esteem. I will show them their identity because they don't know who they are. If you ask people, do you know who you are? They will say, no. It's very hard to understand who you are, you know? And when you know that, can you imagine what happened to Tiger Woods? He didn't remember. He was a great guy. He was a champion. And he had a problem with sex. And he couldn't remember. He had a wife and children and a wonderful career. When he was a child, when the child started driving his life, the inner child, he couldn't be an adult. So he is not responsible for the bad programming. He is responsible for what he did, but not for why he did it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so first you need to understand.
Yeah,
first you need to understand why this is happening and your programming, and then what do you do next?
And next, you have to. It will be very hard for me to explain because it's it's techniques. It's a lot of techniques from NLP. Yeah, but I will. You know what? The subconscious can't make the difference between what you see and what you will imagine.
Right.
It's very important to understand. So I will build a new childhood with my clients.
You will build a new childhood with your clients.
Yeah, and they will have to live this new version of that childhood, and the subconscious will think it's the reality and will take it. It will change the perceptions. Your perceptions, the perceptions you have today, are based on what happened since your birthday, your birthday to today. So if you change that, if you change the souvenirs, you will change the perceptions in the present. It's very, you know, it's hard to explain.
Yeah. No, it's clear.
It's easier to live.
It's very clear. Yeah. So then they probably need a coach. People need a coach. They need to find somebody to walk with them.
Yeah, they really do. If you have the problem of Tarzan Syndrome, I would say if you are between 1 and 4, you know, imagine 1 from 1 to more, plus than 10. If you are between 1 and 4, you will have nearly a happy life, and it won't be so hard for you to work or to have a private life or social life. But when you start at 5 and more, you can't do it by yourself, by your own. It's impossible. You really need a coach.
You need help.
Yeah. Because you know, when you are about 10, you're a serial killer.
Right.
So it's very dangerous. From 5 to plus than 10, it's more and more trouble.
And I remember that you don't necessarily make it easy on your clients. You are a very proactive coach. I remember you talking about this and saying, I am not going to push your wheelchair. If you're crippled in a relationship, I am a coach and I'm not going to push your wheelchair. Je ne vais pas pousser votre chaise roulante.
Yeah, I am a coach.
You are in their face, you are telling them what you see, and it's not going to be you listening and sympathizing with all the stories.
You know, it's not you don't need to tell me all your story. I don't need to get it. We are working with solutions.
Yes.
It's important to understand, and I am a coach. I really coach people to change their behaviors, to change their perceptions, and first the perception they have of their own person.
Yes.
So it's you know, you have to train to develop self-esteem and confidence, like muscles, you know.
Yes.
You have to train, and I really do that with my clients. I am always with them. I tell them that we are in a plane, and I am teaching them how to be a pilot. And then, when they can do what they want with their plane, I go out of the plane, and they can call me, you know, but I want them to be able to pilot their own life. But if they need me, I am here. But I never contact them. I am like we call tour de contrôle.
It's amazing how afraid people are. I have a very good friend who is separating right now from her husband, and she texted me this morning at 6 o'clock when I was about to get up to get ready for this shoot. And she texted me and to say hello, and I say, is there anything you need? And I know that she's going through a really hard time with her separating from her husband. she has tried for so many years to stay in this marriage, and she is now admitting that it's not working and she has to leave. And she says, well, if anything, I need a reminder that it will get better, and I need a reminder that I will not be destined to be alone for the rest of my life. I think that one of the worst things people fear is to be alone. And I said to her, well, I think you should be alone in order to find out that it can be wonderful. It can be wonderful and very peaceful. And once you are alone and you really know it's okay, then you're not trying to avoid that, and something can develop and blossom more easily. I really believe that.
Yeah, you're right. And when people just rock, I tell them it's the best thing that could happen to you. And more if the other one has left, because you shouldn't have. So it's a gift, you know. It's the best gift that the other can do for you. Go away, because, you know, when two persons, Desperado and emotional black hole, match up, it will be a problem, a big problem. Maybe slowly, maybe
unless they're both committed to transforming themselves and their situation, I would say. Unless they're both committed to change.
Yeah, but they won't, because if they don't know that they have a problem, they won't change. They will keep on giving and taking. They will not stop until one of them, and it will be the Desperado, will be too much suffering and will want to stop that. Or if the emotional black hole goes away, so the Desperado comes to me and say, what happened? I gave everything I could and he left me. How could he do that? Mm-hmm. And I'm just smiling and saying, it's the best thing that could happen to you.
Nice.
That's right. You know what? It's very funny in my story, because my husband's lover freed me from a cheating man, and I had to thank her for that. And I did it. 6 months after the wedding, he had a lover, and she's been living with him for 14 years, and he has been cheating on her for 14 years. So we have to understand that when you suffer in a relationship, it means that you have a problem. Love is happiness. If you're not happy, try to understand why. There is a problem. Does the problem comes from you or from the other? And when you will understand that the problem will be usually from both of the persons, it's codependency or emotional dependency, it's Tarzan Syndrome. So when people broke and they come in my office crying like babies, I can understand the problem. It was my life.
Yes.
But now I tell them, you'll be happy, I promise, and you will meet the right person for you. And you never loved. And they are very surprised.
You never loved? Yes. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, you've never loved.
It was not love. Yes, what you thought was love was not love.
It wasn't. It was what I call neurotic attachment. It's the inner child who will choose another inner child.
Yes.
I would say it's, a Desperado and an emotional black hole. They cling.
Yes, right. Yeah.
To the other, like shipwreck survivors.
Yes.
To a makeshift raft in a storm. That's not love. You can't suffer when you love.
Right.
You know, sometimes you can tell the other, oh, leave me alone, but it's not, it's not very horrible, I will say. It's not, how do you say, wife beating? You say wife beating.
Yeah. There's actually a book. There's a book with the title, If it hurts, it isn't love. That's what you're saying.
I do agree. It's not love. It's a neurotic attachment.
Yes.
Because when you love people, when you love somebody, it's easy.
Yes.
It's very easy. It's simple because it's the same person as you, and together they give and they take. you know,
right,
on the same level. But when you give to a person who takes, there is a problem.
yes.
It's the proof that it's unbalanced.
Well, Pascale, this is great clarity for a lot of people. I am really happy that you are talking to me about this and that you're talking to me about this in English. I know your book is out there, the Tarzan Syndrome. It's in French so far. I'm sure it will be translated into English. And you have a whole audience here in the US that needs to hear this. You have already made it from France over the ocean to Canada. Now you need to come to the US and talk about this. There are so many people who need to hear this. People can find you. How can they find you? How can people find you?
They can find me through my website. And you're right, I know that people need this book. And people like it, and it's a bestseller because they understand what happens and they understand how they can break through. So it's very important.
And you also have a DVD called Understanding Life, Comprendre la Vie,
yeah.
right?
Oui.
A DVD.
Et tout cela est en français.
Celui-là est en français, oui. So I'm delighted that we spoke today, Pascale. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup for being on the show.
It was a great pleasure.
And this was Private Matters again, authentically thriving in intimacy. See you next time.
Quem mostrava esse caminho longe, quem mostrava esse caminho longe, esse caminho passando Tomé. Quem mostrava esse caminho longe, quem mostrava esse caminho longe, esse caminho para São